Yes, it is okay to say, it is perfectly okay to say that what we're doing to animals is slavery. Because if it's not slavery, what is it? I am a product of American, British, Jamaican, and West African slavery. Had the transatlantic slave trade not happened, I would have never existed. My family was enslaved um, in Jamaica, in the U.S., in West Africa, in England. So I'm not coming here to say this from a unsympathetic point of view. My parents spent so much time when I was a child to educate me. My parents spent so much time when I was a child to educate me and my sisters about our heritage and what our family went through. Even my last name is Scandinavian. And there are just far too many parallels between slavery, what happened during slavery, and what we do to animals today. And the only defense people have when they don't want you to compare what we do to animals to slavery, because now you're reducing black people to animals, which is usually the argument that I hear, and that kind of it kind of angers me. You're going to automatically think black people. What is it about it that makes you think of black people when we talk about animal slavery? What is it? Are you the one drawing the connection between animals and black people? I mean, I personally don't feel like it's any sort of insult to compare someone to an animal because animals are beautiful things. Animals are beautiful things. If someone came along and called me a bird, I would be, oh, flattered. That probably means I'm graceful and elegant and beautiful. I mean, if someone called me a pig, well, with the context that we have in our English language, it would be a little bit different, I guess. But this is all besides the point because we're not comparing the victims of slavery. We're just saying that the same thing that we did to black people or to countless other groups of humanity throughout the timeline of humanity, because slavery isn't just a black issue, it's a human issue. It's a human issue that we need to get over, of course. But we don't just do it to black people. We don't just do it to other humans. We do it to animals too. And the fact that we do it to animals and it's okay, that shows us, that is evident of how big of a problem this is. That we are able to look at somebody and say, oh, your skin color is different than mine, and you don't have as much power than me. Someone was able to sell you to me, so now I can subject you, subject your entire existence to be here just for me. Oh, you have feathers? You have fur? You walk on four legs? And you cannot defend yourself against my gun. You cannot defend yourself against my cage. You cannot defend yourself against my whip. So now I'm going to subject your entire existence to being here for me. That's the only worth you have, what you can do for me. What we do to animals is slavery. I don't care what anybody says. What we do to animals is slavery. It is straight slavery The only difference is, and this is what makes it worse than African slavery or any other kind of human slavery, at least in the first world that we've seen slavery before. This is what makes it worse. What makes it worse is at the end of these slaves' lives is we eat them. We eat their murdered bodies. And don't come here trying to play semantics games with me. Fine. They're killed, they're slaughtered bodies. Whatever makes you feel better. Call it murder or not, you're still killing these animals. Has any human slave on an organized scale ever been treated as badly as we treat animal slaves? Like, yeah, they used to mate slaves together to produce more slaves. Slave masters used to rape their slaves to produce more slaves. And it's human on human violence. But when a farmer masturbates a bull against the bull's will, because they have these animals caged up while they're doing this, when a farmer masturbates a bull against the bull's will, and even if the animals were free, they have no way to give consent, and then continues to stick their whole arm up a heifer's anus to hold their cervix in place and inject them with bull semen. It's not human on human violence then, it's human on animal violence. And even if the farmer's not getting his rocks off from doing it, it doesn't matter. They're still the ones benefiting. The people who eat those products, the products of that act, are the ones benefiting. So the people who contribute to this are just as bad as the farmers who actually do it, or as the slaughterhouse workers who slice the throats. Because they're just the hitmen. They're just the middlemen. We have derived contracts with these people for them to do this on our behalf, because most of us couldn't do it ourselves. Most of us could not do it ourselves. They say if the slaughterhouse's walls were glass, we'd all be vegetarian or vegan. Yeah, because most of us can't do this ourselves. To know where you would have been, where your stance would have been 200 years ago in the 19th century, to know where you would have stood on that issue, you need to look at where you stand on the issue of animal rights today. Because we do exactly what we did to slaves at that time, to animals. And just because they're animals, why does that make it right? I still need someone to explain this to me, because it hasn't been explained to me yet. Like, what's the significant difference that excuses the worst behavior of mankind towards animals? When you look at animals, this is a worldwide thing where no one cares. Yeah, the victim is different, but it's on a much larger scale. Wow, it blows my mind. Think about that. And I still don't understand why it's any more okay to do it to animals just because they're not humans. Because they're dumb. I don't believe animals are dumb in the first place. They may not have the same kind of intelligence that humans do, but humans are extremely dumb in a lot of ways. Because no smart human would know what they're doing to animals and be okay with it. Humans are extremely dumb. We're so smart, we're completely stupid. We're the only species to try to annihilate the only plant that can sustain us. We're the only species that looks at the other species that we share the planet with and treats them like nothing, like they're resources here for us, wiping them out by the thousands. Humans do that. What makes us think we're any better than animals? Honestly. Because there's a part of me that wants to see humans as like, yeah, we make a lot of mistakes, but we're generally good, and we at least strive to be good. And even with veganism, even though it's still kind of in the early days, and I say it's in the early days because there's only a few of us who are vegan, I would have said it really took off once we have a good percentage of the population who are on this train. And I feel like I joined this train at the tail end of the early days. I feel like we're about to face huge monumental shifts. Because this is not going to be allowed forever. Slavery, condoned, paid for by 99% of society. I'm thinking, God, we're not doing it to other people. But now let's stop doing it to animals, because why on earth are we doing it to animals? Why? Why? Because of protein?